I never meant to turn my kids against their mother. But sometimes the truth is a weapon even when you whisper it gently. One moment, I was a father trying to protect his children from adult sins, and the next, I watched their hearts snap in. I used to wonder if silence was noble, if hiding ugly secrets made me a better parent. But the night my children stared at me, eyes wet with betrayal, begging me to confirm the truth they had just learned, I realized silence can be just as cruel as honesty. And I swear, the moment I opened my mouth, something inside my family died forever. I became a father before I ever understood what being a husband meant. I was 24, shaking with fear and pride, when my daughter, Lily, was placed in my arms for the first time. My wife, Emma, lay exhausted in the hospital bed, her hair stuck to her forehead in sweaty strands, smiling at me the way people smile at sunsets, softly, gratefully, a little amazed. In that room, surrounded by the antiseptic smell of new beginnings, I believed we were unbreakable. 3 years later, our son, Jacob, arrived, smaller, quieter, his fingers curling around mine as though he knew, even then, he would need to hold on tight. By then, life had settled into a routine. Morning cereal explosions, afternoon tantrums, late-night bottles, weekend cartoons. Lily was loud and curious. Jacob was clingy and gentle, and the house was always messy. But it was our mess, our noise, our world. And I was proud of it. I used to wake up early just to watch Emma sleep beside me, not because I was some romantic idiot, but because I wanted to freeze the moment. She had this peaceful look, like sleep erased every argument, every worry, every doubt. I'd think, this is the woman I built my life with. This is forever. But forever, I learned, is a word too fragile to trust. The first sign something was wrong should have been obvious. Emma started spending more time working late, though she worked in a floral shop that closed at 6. She bought new clothes, not mother-comfortable clothes, but young, tight dresses that I hadn't seen her wear since our early dating years. She put on perfume before grocery shopping. She locked her phone. She laughed at texts she wouldn't show me. I ignored it. Because there is a dangerous type of love that blinds you, not because you can't see the truth, but because you're terrified to confirm it. I remember the night everything changed. Jacob was 2 months old, screaming with colic, and Emma said she needed to clear her head and left. Midnight passed, then 1, then 2. I fed Jacob, rocked him, paced the living room floor so many times the boards creaked like old bones beneath my feet. Lily kept waking, asking, "Where's Mommy?" In a sleepy, confused voice, I stared at the door for hours, waiting to hear her key. When she finally walked in near dawn, she looked too awake for someone who claimed she had been driving around thinking. Her hair was perfect, her lipstick fresh, and I could smell cologne on her clothes. A man's cologne. Still, even then I didn't accuse her, I just stared. And she stared back. We both knew, without words, that something precious had been dropped onto the floor between us and shattered. Maybe that was the moment she stopped loving me. Maybe it happened earlier. Maybe she never really did. Months passed, full of tension. Silence carved sharp edges into our home. We argued in whispers so the kids wouldn't hear. She spent more nights working. I spent more nights awake, imagining. And every time she walked out the door, I wondered if she was going to him. Then came the day my heart learned the truth it feared. I found messages. Long ones, the kind that didn't need interpretation. The kind full of, "I wish I could wake up next to you," and "I can't wait until we're together," and "He doesn't understand me like you do." Emma had been cheating before. Jacob was born during the pregnancy, after his birth. The world flipped upside down, and every memory of the past year rearranged into a picture I had refused to see. I confronted her. She didn't cry, didn't deny it. She simply looked tired, like I was bothering her with drama. She sat down at the kitchen table, folded her hands, and said, "I'm sorry, but I'm in love with someone else." Someone else. The man her affair partner was named Daniel. Taller than me, older than me, divorced, rich enough to buy her gifts I couldn't. She told me she wanted a divorce. She said she hoped we could stay friends. She said the kids would adjust. I remember laughing, not from humor, from madness. Friends. Adjust? I had built my life around this woman. My future had her face on it. As she was asking me to accept losing everything with a handshake, I told her I would file for full custody. She threatened to take the kids and move out of state. Lawyers were contacted. Lines were drawn. Then came the worst week of my life, the week I questioned my son's blood. Because Daniel had been in Emma's life far longer than I imagined. Before his conception, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, wondering if the child who clung to my finger belonged to another man entirely. That thought shattered something inside me. I asked for a DNA test. She called me disgusting. I told her truth didn't care about feelings. 2 weeks later, results came in. Both kids were mine. I cried so hard in the parking lot that an old woman walking by asked if I needed medical assistance. I said no. I needed God. The divorce was brutal custody battles, financial arguments, endless accusations. We finally settled. On 50/50th, the kids were too young to fully understand. Lily just kept drawing pictures of our family with stick figures standing far apart. Jacob clung to me every time Emma took them to her car and screamed like the world was ending. I told myself they would heal. That time would smooth their edges. That children were resilient, but children see everything. They absorb energy like electricity. They know tension better than language. Emma married Daniel a year later. The wedding was small. Her family didn't show up. They hated him. They blamed him for destroying the picture they cherished. Lily never warmed up to him. Jacob hid behind me whenever he saw him. And Daniel, trying to play father, called them Buddy and Princess. With a forced smile and dead eyes, I tried to be civil. Not for Emma, for the kids. We never told them the truth. No cheating story. No betrayal. We wanted them to love both parents, to choose happiness over sides, but secrets rot. And sometimes truth comes knocking whether you open the door or not. 3 weeks ago, their grandmother, Emma's mother, decided she couldn't bear watching. Her grandchildren resent Daniel without knowing why. She sat them down and told them, "Your mom cheated. She broke the family. Daniel helped destroy your home." That night, my kids came to me. Lily's eyes were red. Jacob wouldn't stop staring at his shoes. They asked, "Dad, is it true? Did Mom ruin everything?" I felt the world freeze. I could have lied. I could have said, no, it was complicated. I could have saved their innocence a little longer, but they were old enough now. I knelt in front of them and said, "Your mother made mistakes, but she loves you, and you don't need to hate her for my sake," they cried. They hugged me. They whispered, "We're angry at her, Dad, because she hurt you." I told them anger was poison. I told them love was bigger, but children don't listen to lectures, only emotions. Days passed. They refused to go with Emma. They refused to speak to Daniel. They told her, to her face, "You broke our family." Then Emma called me screaming. Furious, "You should have lied," she yelled. "You should have protected me," I said quietly. "Truth protects them, not you." She sobbed. She cursed. She said I ruined everything, but she ruined us first, and now I lie awake at night, wondering, did I make my kids hate their mother? Or did she earn it herself? The weeks that followed felt like walking across thin glass. Every sound became sharper, every movement louder, every breath heavier. Something had shifted inside my children, an anger I had never seen before, and a silence I didn't know how to break. The first time they refused to go with Emma, it was a Friday morning. She was sitting in her car outside my house, engine running, waiting for them to pack their bags for the weekend. Normally I reminded them gently, helped them get their things together, kissed their foreheads, and sent them out the door. But that morning, Lily sat at the kitchen table, arms crossed, cereal untouched, jaw clenched so tight I could see muscles twitching beneath her skin. Jacob stood behind her like a soldier guarding a queen, his tiny face set in a scowl that was far too old for someone his age. "It's Mom's weekend," I said softly, kneeling beside Lily. "I don't care," she snapped. Jacob chimed in, voice small but shaking with fury. "We're not going." It stung me. My daughter had always been gentle, emotional, dramatic sometimes, but never hateful. Jacob rarely even raised his voice. Why? I asked. Lily looked at me with eyes that were suddenly not a child's anymore. Because she lied, she whispered. Because she hurt you, because she broke our family. Jacob looked like he was about to cry. She chose him instead of us. Those words weren't mine. They weren't even their grandmother's. They were the children's logic, their own heartbreaking conclusion. I wanted to tell them it wasn't true. That Emma loved them just as much. That affairs, no matter how evil, weren't so simple. That emotions were messy. That relationships fall apart for more than just betrayal, but all I could do was stare. Outside, Emma honked once. Short, impatient. Routine. Kids, I said quietly, you have to go. No, it wasn't a tantrum voice. It was a verdict. So I walked out to Emma's car alone. She rolled the window down and asked, annoyed, where are they? They don't want to. Come, I said. Her eyes narrowed. Excuse me? They're angry, Em, about what your mother told them. They're confused. They need time. At first she looked shocked, then defensive, then livid. This is your fault. No, yes, it is. You should have denied it. You should have told them it was a lie. You should have stopped this before it started. I shook my head slowly. They asked me the truth. You know I never lied to them. You've poisoned them against me, she spat. No, I whispered. You poisoned yourself. She drove away, squealing tires against asphalt. I stood watching her tail lights disappear down the street, feeling not triumphant, not bitter, not angry, just tired. The kids watched from the window. When I came back inside, Lily hugged me so tightly I thought her arms might snap. We're staying with you forever, she whispered, and that should have felt good. But all it did was make my stomach twist. Because love that grows out of hatred is not love, and loyalty born from pain can turn vicious. I carried that fear silently through the following days. Jacob started asking questions. Small ones at first. Why did she like Daniel more than us? Why didn't she think about you? Did you cry when she left? Lily asked bigger ones I didn't know how to answer. Do you still love her? Do you hate her now? Would she have left us too if we were older? I tried to protect them from every sharp edge of the truth. Your mother loves you. She never stopped loving you. That wasn't about you. It was about the marriage. Adults make mistakes. Big, stupid mistakes. But children don't understand. Emotional nuance. To them, cheating was simple math. Cheating equals betrayal. Betrayal equals hurt. Hurt equals enemy. That was their equation. And nothing could undo numbers already carved in their hearts. The atmosphere at home changed. Lily became quieter, always thinking. Jacob became clingier, always holding my hand, always watching me walk from room to room with terrified eyes, as though afraid I might disappear. They slept in my bed every night now. Pillows lined up between us like little bodies barricading themselves from nightmares. One night, around midnight, I woke to Lily crying silently beside me. Her face was turned toward the wall, shoulders shaking. Lily? She gasped like someone pulled her soul back into her body. I don't want to see her, she sobbed. I don't want to talk to her. I don't want to even look at her face anymore. Jacob woke up, confused and scared, and started crying because she was crying. I gathered them both into my arms. Why? I whispered. Because every time I think about her, I feel like someone's stepping on my chest, she choked out. I hate that man. I hate him for being in our house. I hate him for being with her. I hate him for taking our mom away. Jacob buried his face in my neck. Why didn't she pick us? That sentence ripped something open inside me. Even adults think this way. Sometimes that cheating means they weren't enough, weren't worthy, weren't valuable. And now, my children felt the same. I kissed their foreheads, tears burning behind my eyes. She didn't pick him over you, I whispered. She made a mistake. She hurt the family. But she loves you more than anything. But she didn't love you, Lily said. No, I murmured. She didn't. And if she didn't love you, Lily continued, voice trembling, why? Would she love us? I had no answer. The next morning, Emma called again. I didn't want to answer, but I knew ignoring her would only make things worse. She didn't bother greeting me. I want to see them. I know, so bring them over today. They won't go. She exhaled sharply. Make them. I can't force them into a car kicking and screaming. You're their father. She yelled. Yes, I said quietly. Which is why I won't traumatize them into pretending they're okay. She went silent. Then she asked, voice trembling, what did they say about me? I hesitated because those words could either heal or destroy. They're hurt, I finally said. And confused, she whispered. Do they hate me? The truth was yes, but I told her, they're angry. That doesn't mean hate. Why can't you just fix this? She begged. I'm not a magician, I whispered. You broke something. They're allowed to feel broken about it. She hung up. 2 days later, Daniel showed up unannounced. At my house, he knocked with the confidence of someone used to getting doors open for him. When I answered, he didn't smile. He didn't greet me. He just said in a cold voice, you need to control your kids. I stared at him, disbelief flooding my veins. My kids aren't dogs to be controlled. I replied, they are disrespecting Emma, he snapped. They need to understand that marriages fall apart because people grow apart, not because of villains. You are a villain to them, I said evenly. That's not their fault. That's reality. He took a step closer to me, chest puffed out. You think you're helping them by letting them hate us? I've never told them to hate you, I said. Not once, he scoffed. By staying silent, you're encouraging it. No, I replied. By staying honest, I'm refusing to manipulate them, his jaw clenched. You're pathetic, he spat, and that would have been fine insults, don't bother me. But then he made a fatal mistake. He raised his voice. Right as Lily walked into the hallway, she froze when she saw him. Jacob, behind her, grabbed her sleeve. Daniel tried to soften his voice. Kids, let's talk. Go away, Way, Lily whispered. Jacob echoed, leave. You're hurting your mother, Daniel said. No, Lily replied, with venom beyond her age. You hurt our family. He looked stunned because children don't usually speak like that. Then she said something I will. Never forget, you are not my dad. You will never be my dad. You're just the man who ruined my mom. He opened his mouth to speak. I closed the door on his face after he left. Jacob looked up at me and asked, Are we in trouble? I knelt and hugged them both. No, I said. You are not in trouble for protecting your feelings. But later, alone, I wondered if I should have stopped them, should have corrected them, should have taught them neutrality, because every time they defended me, I felt proud yet guilty. Proud because they loved me. Guilty because they hated her. That internal battle ate at me. The truth is, part of me enjoyed being chosen. Enjoyed being the safe parent. Enjoyed being the hero after years of being the fool. But another part wondered if I had been selfish. Maybe I could have softened the truth. Maybe I could have shielded them better. Maybe I could have absorbed their anger, instead of letting it burn outward. But every time I imagined lying to them, I saw future versions of them finding out and hating me. So I remained silent. And the silence fed their anger like gasoline feeds. Flame. Emma tried calling again, texting, begging, bargaining, but she didn't understand. Once trust shatters, children don't glue it back easily. One night Lily asked me quietly, Dad, would you ever forgive Mom? I paused. Forgive? I didn't even know what forgiveness meant anymore. I don't know, I answered truthfully. She thought for a long moment, then whispered, If you can't forgive her, how can we? I had no words, and that was when I realized. The story wasn't just about cheating. It wasn't just about divorce. It wasn't about custody or truth or loyalty. It was about children, trying to rebuild meaning in a world adults had broken. By loving me. They were punishing her by protecting me. They were destroying her by standing with me. They were standing against her, and I didn't know how to stop it. The truth had been spoken. The secrets had spilled, and the consequences were alive, breathing, walking around my house in the form of two wounded children who saw betrayal everywhere they looked. They weren't done hurting. They weren't done questioning. They weren't done blaming, and what scared me most was this: they were just getting started. The first sign that things were getting worse came on a Tuesday evening, ordinary, forgettable, the kind of night where the world looks harmless. I was making pasta for dinner, stirring sauce, humming without realizing it, when I heard Lily yell from the living room. Jacob shouted right after her, and his voice had panic in it. I rushed out, wiping my hands on a towel, ready to break up a sibling fight. But instead, I found something else. Emma was standing outside the front window, looking in. She wasn't knocking. She wasn't calling. She was just staring at her children, tears streaming down her cheeks in long, broken lines. Lily froze, mid-cry, the TV remote dangling from her hand like a weapon she suddenly didn't know how to use. Jacob backed away from the window until his shoulder hit my leg. It took me a moment to process the scene. Emma, my ex-wife, the mother of my kids, looked destroyed. Her hair was tied up in a sloppy bun, her eyes red and puffy, her face pale. Beneath the porch light, she looked like a woman who hadn't slept in days. Lily whispered, "Dad, what is she doing here?" And even though my heart ached, even though I saw a woman who once held my whole future standing on my porch like a ghost, something inside me hardened because she hadn't called, hadn't texted, hadn't warned us. She just showed up. I went to the door and stepped outside. I pulled it nearly closed behind me so the kids wouldn't hear, but I knew they would be listening anyway. Children always listen hardest when they're asked not to. "What are you doing here?" "Emma?" I asked quietly. She swallowed, and her voice came out cracked. "I missed them, I know. I just wanted to see them. You can't just appear like this." She shook her head. "Don't talk to me like I'm some stranger." "You're scaring them," I said. Her voice rose a little, trembling at the edges. "I'm their mother. I have the right to be here." I stepped closer, lowering my tone. "They're inside crying because they don't know how to handle the anger they feel. You showing up without warning isn't going to fix anything." Emma's eyes darted to the window, where the kids were peeking through the curtains despite trying to hide behind them. Lily saw her looking and vanished from view. Jacob dropped behind the sofa. Emma saw it and broke. I watched her shoulders collapse, watched her body fold into itself. "I never thought my own children would hide from me," she whispered. I didn't know what to say. There are moments in life where every word feels like the wrong one. "You need to give them space," I told her gently. "I've given them weeks," she said. "And they hate me more every day. Time will help." She laughed, a bitter, hopeless sound. "Time is making them forget I exist." I wanted to tell her she was wrong. But she wasn't entirely wrong. Silence replaces faces faster than people think. She wiped her cheeks with shaking hands. "I didn't come here to fight," she whispered. "I just wanted to look at them. That's all." Then she left. "No, goodbye." "No, I'll try again later." Just walked to her car and drove away, leaving tire tracks glistening in the streetlight like fresh wounds. I shut the door and leaned against it. Inside, Jacob burst into tears. He ran to me, clutching my leg, sobbing into my jeans. Lily rubbed her eyes furiously, angry at herself for reacting emotionally. "I don't want to see her," she whispered, voice cracking. "I don't want her coming here." Jacob hiccuped. "Why can't she leave us alone?" I knelt, pulling them into my arms. "She's your mom," I whispered. "She loves you." "No," Lily said. She loved him. Those 3 words carved another scar in the night. After they finally calmed down and slept, the house felt unnervingly quiet. Too quiet. The sort of quiet that presses against your skull. I sat on the couch in the dark, thinking about Emma standing at the window, thinking about how small she'd looked, and I hated the feeling that crawled through me because in my anger, I had forgotten she was human. The next morning, I woke up to a notification. Emma had posted online, a long post, public. She wrote about parental alienation. She wrote about a father poisoning children. She wrote about heartless manipulation, about being cut out of her kids' hearts, about truth being twisted. She never mentioned names, but everyone in town knew who she meant. Friends messaged me. Coworkers asked if I was okay. My own mother phoned me in rage, and I stayed silent. Because every time I thought about defending myself publicly, I thought about Lily and Jacob reading it someday. They didn't need to see adults tearing flesh online, but the consequences came fast. Her family reached out. Her sister called, voice shaking with fury. "You're disgusting," she said. "You're ruining her life." I didn't tell the kids anything except the truth. "That's enough to destroy them," she snapped. She hung up. Then her brother called, then her aunt, then her cousin. The world has a way of picking sides even when the story isn't theirs to judge. I didn't argue with any of them. What was the point? A war shouted across phone lines doesn't end in peace, but something worse was brewing. Something I couldn't ignore. Friday morning came, and with it, another exchange day. Emma arrived at the doorstep again. This time she wasn't crying. This time she wasn't broken. This time she looked furious. "I'm not leaving without them," she said. I spoke quietly. "I can't force them into a car. Watch me." She pushed past me and entered the house. Jacob screamed the moment she crossed the threshold. Lily ran into the hallway closet, slamming the door and locking it from the inside. My house turned into a storm. Emma sobbed and tried to hug Jacob, but he kicked and pushed away, screaming, "I don't want you." Jacob had never spoken to her like that, not even on the worst days of the divorce. Emma froze. Jacob ran to me, shaking. Lily yelled from inside the closet, "Go away, go away, go away." Emma whispered, "Oh my God, they really hate me." Her voice was so haunted it felt wrong to breathe. Then she collapsed onto her knees in my living room, screaming into her hands, "I'm their mother. I'm their mother." And for the first time since everything started, I saw the woman she used to be, not my cheating ex-wife. Not the woman who broke me, just a mother who lost her place in her children's hearts. The scene ripped me apart. Because even though she hurt me, she didn't deserve this. No parent deserves this. I helped her to her feet and whispered, "Emma, you have to leave." She shook her head violently. "No, I'm staying. I'm not giving up on them." But Lily kept screaming through the door, "You're not my mom? You're not my mom anymore?" And Emma's face went blank. Like all emotion had drained out, she stood still for a long moment. Then she said 5 words I never expected to hear. "I wish I'd never told you." She walked out and slammed the door behind her. The moment she left, the house exhaled. I unlocked the closet door. Lily crawled out, shaking, crying silently into my shirt. Jacob clung to my waist, whispering, "Don't let her take us." That night, something else happened. Something worse. Lily asked me, "Why did you marry her?" "Because to her, Emma wasn't a mother anymore, just a woman who betrayed." I struggled to explain love to a child who only saw pain. "I married her," I said softly, "because she made me happy once." Lily frowned deeply. "But if she could lie to you, she could lie to us." I tried to tell her people are complicated. That love and betrayal can exist in the same person. That a person can be a bad spouse and a good parent, but Lily wasn't listening anymore. She was building walls inside herself. Sharp, tall, impossible to climb, and I realized something horrifying. This wasn't just anger. It was identity. Their hatred of their mother was becoming part of who they were. The next weekend, I took them to a therapist, a specialist in child trauma. She spoke with them separately for a long time. Then she came to me, her expression frightened me more than any words so far. She said, "They are emotionally aligning with you to protect themselves. They believe that loving their mother is disloyal to you." I whispered, "What do I do?" She replied, "You have to undo the damage, even if it hurts you." I asked her what she meant. "Tell them it's okay to love their mother again. Tell them you want them to." I went quiet because deep down, I didn't want that. I didn't want them running into another man's arms. Didn't want them calling, "Daniel, Dad." Didn't want them forgetting the pain she caused. And the therapist looked right through me. "You enjoy being the hero," she whispered. I swallowed hard. Because she was right, I enjoyed being the safe one, the loved one, the chosen parent. But if I continued letting them worship me and hate her, I would break them. The therapist left me with one final sentence. "If you don't help mend their relationship with their mother, these children will grow into adults who cannot trust, cannot attach, and cannot love." That night, I stared at the ceiling, sleepless, listening to Lily and Jacob breathe beside me, and I knew no matter how much Emma hurt me, no matter how much betrayal burned, no matter how good it felt to be chosen, I had to fix what was breaking, even if it shattered me instead. The next morning, I woke up with a decision weighing on my chest like a concrete block. I had to help my kids rebuild something with their mother, even if I resented what that meant. Even if it meant giving up the comfort of being the only safe parent. Even if it meant watching them walk away from me someday and into a life where I wasn't the hero anymore. But choice didn't change the heaviness. It just gave it direction. The kids were at the breakfast table eating cereal, Jacob humming to himself like nothing was wrong. Lily scrolling on her tablet with that look of distant anger she had developed lately. I sat down across from them. I expected dread or fear or stubborn rejection, but they just stared at me, waiting. Kids can sense when a parent is about to drop a bomb. Hey, I said quietly, we need to talk. Lily stopped scrolling. Jacob stopped humming. That silence, not loud, not violent, just completely still, hit me harder than any scream could have. I took a breath. I know things have been hard lately. I know you're angry at your mom. I know you feel betrayed. Jacob whispered, we're not going back there. Lily didn't speak. I nodded. I'm not going to force you into a car, but we need to remember something. They watched me, suspicious. She's still your mother. Lily's jaw tightened. Jacob's face fell, and she loves you. I finished. Jacob whispered, no, she doesn't. If she loved us, she wouldn't have done it. It was like hearing my own thoughts come out of his mouth. Words I had once said alone in the dark. I swallowed back instinctive agreement. I understand why you feel that way. But love doesn't make people perfect. Lily pushed her chair back and stood. She folded her arms, eyes blazing. So we have to pretend she's a good person? No, I said softly. You just have to let her be human. She didn't like that answer. She walked to her room, slammed the door, and turned the lock. Jacob whispered, why are you defending her? I knelt beside him. Because hating her will hurt you more than it hurts her. He stared at his cereal. It doesn't feel like it, I know. He sniffed and wiped his nose with the sleeve of his pajamas. Then he asked a question that twisted my heart. Dad, would you forgive someone who ruined everything? I closed my eyes. I don't know, I answered honestly, and that truth hurt both of us. That day, after dropping them at school, I drove to a parking lot and just sat there. Engine off, radio silent, key still in my hand. I needed to call Emma, not because I wanted to, but because I had to. I dialed. She answered on the first ring. Her voice was cold, no tears, no anger, no softness. Just exhaustion. What do you want? We need to talk about the kids. She scoffed. That's all we ever talk about. This is serious. It's always serious with you, she snapped, then sighed. What happened now? They're shutting down, and I breathed in deep. I think they need controlled contact. With you. Double quote silence. Then just, you're joking. I'm not. She let out a laugh that wasn't laughter. You spent years hating me, and now you want to fix things? No, I said, I still hate you. There was no point lying, and that, she whispered, is why they hate me too. I didn't respond, she continued, voice breaking. They repeat what you think. You don't even have to say anything. They see how you look at me. They see how you speak to me. I've never told them to hate you, I insisted. You didn't have to. She exploded. You got custody, you got sympathy, you got a town that thinks you're a saint. And now I'm the villain in my children's story. I lowered my voice. Emma, this isn't a competition, she laughed bitterly. It became one the moment I cheated. No response came out of me. Because she wasn't wrong, she inhaled sharply. Okay, what do you want to do? We need to rebuild trust, slowly, carefully. And how do you suggest we do that when they scream every time they see me? I ran a hand through my hair. I want us to meet the therapist together, all four of us. There was silence. A long one. Then she whispered, I'll be there. The therapist's office smelled like peppermint and printer ink. Papers lined every wall, charts about child trauma, art from other children, quotes about healing. Lily sat beside me, arms folded so tight she looked like she was hugging her ribs. Jacob leaned against my shoulder, sleepy, anxious, across from us. Emma sat rigid, clutching her purse like a shield. She wouldn't look at me, and I didn't look at her. Daniel wasn't there, thank God, the therapist smiled gently. Thank you all for coming. No one responded. She began slowly. I want to start with something simple, Lily Jacob. I want you to say one feeling you've had about all this. Lily stared at the floor. Anger, she murmured. Jacob whispered. Confusion. Emma flinched at both. The therapist nodded. And you're allowed to feel both. They're real feelings. They matter. But today we're going to try to put words around what those feelings are trying to tell you. She turned to Lily. What are you angry about? Lily looked up, eyes red. You lied to us. Emma opened her mouth, but the therapist raised a hand. No interruptions. Lily continued. You broke Dad. You broke our home. You broke everything. Jacob chimed in. You picked someone else instead of us. Emma covered her mouth and cried silently. But again, the therapist didn't allow her to speak yet. And what does that anger want? The therapist asked. Lily blinked. I want her to go away forever. Jacob nodded fiercely. I hate her husband. Emma gasped. He never… Emma, the therapist interrupted. We'll get to your turn. The therapist turned to me. What do you think, Dad? I swallowed. I wanted to defend the kids. I wanted to defend myself. I wanted to condemn Emma, but the therapist stared at me with a look that demanded truth bigger than pride. I think they're hurt, I said quietly, and hurt feels like hate. The therapist nodded. And what do you want, Dad? I hesitated. Every word felt like a blade. I want them to have a mother, I whispered. Even if that mother isn't the partner I wanted. The room froze. Emma stared at me, hands shaking. It was the first time I ever said anything forgiving about her. The therapist finally turned to Emma. You can speak now. Emma leaned forward, voice trembling. Lily Jacob, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't fall out of love with you. I messed up. I hurt your father. I hurt our family. I did something horrible. Jacob looked away. Lily didn't blink. Emma continued. But I never stopped loving you. I never chose someone else over you. I just made a terrible mistake that had nothing to do with you. Jacob whispered, but we lost everything. Emma wiped her eyes. And I live with that every day. The therapist asked the kids to draw how they felt. Jacob drew a house with a crack down the middle. Lily drew a stick, family, Dad holding both kids, Mom outside the page. The therapist studied both pictures silently. They don't hate you, she told Emma. They're just afraid. The session ended without a miracle. There were no hugs, no forgiveness, no sudden healing, but Lily handed Emma her drawing before leaving the room. And even though it showed Emma standing alone, outside the family, she had drawn her mother smiling. Small progress, but real. Outside the office, Emma approached me. Her voice was low, broken even. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For trying. Then she said something unexpected. How long did you know I was unhappy? I froze, because the truth. I knew long before she cheated. I remembered the nights she cried in the bathroom. The mornings she stared out the window. For too long. The times she tried to talk and I didn't listen. I whispered, a long time. She nodded. So did I. We stood there silently, side by side, not touching, not arguing, and for the first time since the divorce, the space between us didn't feel like a battlefield. But healing is never clean. 3 days later, everything collapsed again because Daniel called me, and what he said changed the direction of all of our lives. Again, he told me Emma wanted to give up custody, not temporarily, not during therapy, not until the kids calmed. She wanted to sign over parental rights. She wanted out. He said she planned to leave the state. She couldn't bear the rejection anymore. And suddenly, I didn't know whether I was furious or terrified, because if she disappeared forever, what kind of adults would my children become? I thought the chaos was over. I thought the worst storms had passed, and all that was left was to rebuild. But the truth hit me in a way I didn't expect. Sometimes after the storm, you realize the land you're standing on has shifted forever. And that's where my life settled, between peace and permanent change. Days after the court hearing, I paced around my living room thinking about everything that had unfolded over the past year. My kids were upstairs laughing about something. Probably one of those silly online videos they loved. Their laughter shook the walls, and every echo of it reminded me of the nights I lay awake wondering if I'd ever hear it again in my home. I poured myself a glass of water and stood by the kitchen window, staring at the street. The sun was lowering, burning the sky orange, a peaceful scene. But peace can be strange. Sometimes it doesn't feel like comfort. It feels like emptiness finally revealing itself. I wondered if I had messed up their lives. I wondered if that anger inside them would linger forever. I wondered if my ex would change, or if she would always blame me instead of facing herself. For months after the court's decision, our household settled into a new routine. The kids spent most of their time with me. They chose it themselves. Their mother got weekends and some weekdays, and every time they packed to go, attention filled the room thick as fog. My daughter once stood in the hallway with her backpack on and asked, "Do I have to go, Dad?" And my answer every time was the same. You don't have to love what happened. You don't have to forgive it yet. But you do have to show respect even when you don't feel it. She would sigh, hug me hard, and leave. And every time, the door shut behind her. A silence filled the house that hurt more than any shout could. My son grew quieter as the months passed. He used to be loud, wild, full of jokes. But silence became his comfort. He spoke when he needed to, laughed only when something genuinely cracked him open. He was maturing too fast, learning adult truths before childhood was ready to let him go. One night, after they had gone to their moms, I sat alone at the table. No TV, no music, just the tick-tick-tick of the clock. My phone buzzed. My ex. Texting. Her message was simple. "They're not talking to me." I typed back, "Give them time." She replied, "I feel like they're punishing me." I stared at the screen for a long while. My fingers hovered over the keyboard before I finally wrote, "They're healing." She didn't respond. Weeks later, I got a call from my mother and law ex mother and law, really, but I still saw her the same way. Her voice sounded tired, fragile. "I need to talk to you," she said. We met at a coffee shop. When she walked in, she looked older. Grief does that, regret even more. She hugged me, and for a second I forgot the wreckage between. "US, I thought telling them the truth would bring clarity," she said, sitting down. "I thought they deserved it. But sometimes I wonder if I ruined something." "You didn't ruin anything," I told her. "The truth didn't destroy this family. The truth revealed what was already destroyed." She nodded, eyes tearing up. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I shook my head. "Don't be sorry for telling the truth. Be sorry only if you lied." She smiled faintly, wiped her eyes, and said something that stuck with me forever. "You're raising them well. They're good kids because their father teaches them goodness, even in pain." I didn't know what to say. Praise always hits strangely when life has broken you, but after that meeting, something inside me shifted. For the first time, I allowed myself to be proud not just of surviving, but of how I survived. My kids began asking deeper questions. Not about cheating or betrayal, but about humanity. My son asked, "Dad, do people change?" I answered, "Yes, but only when they want to grow, not just because they feel guilty." My daughter asked, "Do you think Mom ever loved you?" A question that made my breath catch in my throat. "Yes," I said, "but love doesn't always stay. And, love doesn't always mean loyalty. Sometimes people love you as much as they understand how to love, and that might not be enough." They sat with that, and for once they didn't cry. Months passed. Seasons changed. The leaves fell, snow came, then melted again. Life kept moving forward even when it felt like we were all stuck in place. Birthdays came. Holidays came. I made sure their mother was included when she wanted to be. I made sure the kids gave her cards and made gifts. Because pain isn't supposed to erase humanity, but pain does. Rewrite relationships. My son, he started growing close to me in ways I never anticipated. He came to me with fears, dreams, questions about future careers. My daughter, she became my shadow. She followed me around, wanting comfort, wanting attention, wanting reassurance that betrayal wouldn't repeat itself with her, and I did my best. God knows I tried. One evening I was driving with them in the car, radio low. windows cracked. The smell of rain drifting in. From the back seat, my daughter said, "Dad? Yeah? You're not alone anymore, are you?" That question. It froze my hands on the wheel. "What do you mean?" I asked. She leaned forward. "You deserve someone good." I didn't answer immediately. It had been years since I even thought about dating seriously. "I'm okay alone," I told her. "Sometimes that's true. Sometimes it's a lie dressed as bravery." She said softly, "But I don't want you to be lonely." And I realized something watching. Their family break apart had made them afraid to see me empty. Later that night, my son came to my room. "Dad," he whispered, "if you ever love someone new, we'll be okay with that." I'd put my arm around him, feeling the weight of what cheating had stolen from all of us. "Trust, I'm not looking," I told him. "If love comes, it'll find me when I'm ready. And when you're ready to accept it." He nodded, kissed my shoulder, and left. Days later, I saw my ex at school pickup. We stood near each other awkwardly as the kids ran around. She cleared her throat. "They told me you talked to them about dating," she said. I sighed. "They talked to me," I answered honestly. She looked away. "It's strange to imagine." "You with someone else?" It was strange for me, too. I didn't respond, and she suddenly said, "I miss the way things used to be." I turned to her. "How they used to be?" I repeated. "Or how you wish they were?" She didn't answer. After a moment, she whispered, "I wish I could undo everything." Her voice cracked. I shook my head slowly. "You can't undo pain by wanting reverse. You can only grow by accepting the wreckage you caused." She wiped tears from her cheeks. "I don't know how to fix anything," she said. I told her the truth. "You don't fix the past. You build the future." I didn't say it kindly nor cruelly. Just honestly. And as she walked back to her car, I wondered if she'd ever truly heal. Time passed. The kids settled. Their anger softened, not forgiven, but less sharp. And then something unexpected began happening. They stopped hating their stepdad with fire. They started tolerating him the way people tolerate a stranger who lives nearby, not warm, not welcome, but peaceful enough to exist. My son explained it one night, sitting on the porch next to me. "We don't hate him anymore. But we don't love him either. We just accept that he exists." Acceptance. The final stage of every story like this, I asked him, "Does that make you feel better?" "It makes me feel older," he said. And that broke my heart. No child should feel older because adults failed them. But still, I was proud. They weren't letting hate destroy their futures. Then something else happened. My kids started talking about therapy. Not because they were forced, because they wanted clarity. My daughter told me, "I want to understand how to trust people." My son said, "I want to stop imagining the past every time I look at Mom," so I got them help. Real emotional help, and slowly, things turned. They still lived mostly with me. But now when they visited her, they came home with softer expressions, not broken ones. They talked about dinners, games, laughs. They didn't mention their stepdad often, but when they did, the tone was neutral. No flame. No poison, just human distance, and that was enough. Not perfect, but enough for me. I keep living quietly, working, cooking, driving, laughing, healing with them. And some nights, after they fall asleep, I sit at the edge of my bed and whisper to myself, "I didn't make them hate their mom. Life did, choices did, truth did. And now, the three of us are learning that hate isn't a place you stay. Hate is a tunnel you walk through, toward whatever waits at the other end. For us, that ending was peace, small, imperfect, but real, and that's enough, because once upon a time, I lost everything I thought made me a husband and a father. And now, somehow, I stand here, still a father, still loved, still needed, still alive. And I finally believe something I never believed before. Broken families don't always stay broken. Sometimes they grow new shapes. Sometimes they grow new roots. Sometimes they build a different kind of love, one that hurts less. Even if it remembers everything. And every night, when I turn off the lights and hear my children breathing in the rooms down the hall, I know this story didn't end in tragedy. It ended in survival. And survival is its own kind of victory.